Scary people found alone on the road. In this 2018 video, the person driving sees a mysterious figure start to come after their car. They start driving faster, and the figure starts sprinting after the car, inhumanly fast. Luckily the car is faster, and it seems like it gets away from the figure. However, in another clip, the figure is back, and he is closer. The car is driving fast, but the figure is able to catch up and get really close to the car. The figure looks like a man, except that his eyes are glowing.
As it wasn't his first rodeo, it makes sense that Reagan responded so smoothly to this next potential attempt at his life. As he's giving a speech, it sounds like a gun goes off in the distant crowd. Reagan says, "Missed me," without a beat, before resuming.
We're reminded of the many traditions of openness and democracy that have marked the history of this city. America missed me.
Scary stalkers caught on camera. For months now, a man has been receiving unwanted attention from a strange guy who rides the same train as him every day. One day, the man drops the politeness and makes himself abundantly clear to the guy, telling him to stop. Eventually, a superintendent has to step in and take charge of the situation before it gets any worse, separating the two men in two different train carts. Hoping for some calm, the man tries to relax in the new wagon, but after a few seconds, his not-so-secret admirer can be seen staring him right in the face.
I'm crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage.
Scariest moments caught on GoPro camera. In this 2017 GoPro footage, this motorcyclist is low on gas, so he pulls into a nearby station, where he will record something inexplicable with his camera. While he tries to pay with his credit card, a mysterious human shadow shows up behind him, but when he reacts, none can be seen. If you pay close attention, you will notice that the shadow inexplicably disappears before it even makes it all the way across the pump. Scariest coincidences caught on video. In 2018, a body was found inside a creek by the local police in Pennsylvania. As this was happening, a journalist came across a man nearby, and when interviewed he said,
"It's sad to say that that's someone's either daughter, mother, whatever, both."
Hours later the cops realized it was the man's mother in the creek, and he was arrested due to evidence found in his shed, even though he said it was only a coincidence and that he had no idea it was his mom inside the creek.
In this video, a couple leaves their home to head out on their nightly walk. Suddenly, 3 armed robbers jump out of a car and ambush the couple. The robbers chase after the couple, hold them at gunpoint, and force them to give up their wallets and phones. The robbery lasted less than a minute, and as soon as the robbers had gotten everything valuable off the couple, they jumped back in the car and sped off.
They open up the doors and immediately, it's nefarious. They all had guns.
It was like an ambush.
Yeah, they start rushing towards us up the sidewalk. We try to make a break for it.
The couple said that the robbers appeared to only be teenagers. The husband stated that the incident traumatized his wife and him, and that he's now considering getting his concealed carry permit because they no longer feel safe on the streets of Chicago.
Facts that will warp your perception of time. Anna Frank and Martin Luther King were born on the same year. George Washington died in 1799, 25 years before the first dinosaur fossil was found. Washington never knew of the dinosaur's existence. When Nintendo was founded, Jack the Ripper was still on the loose. Worst ways characters have died in kids' movies. The Iron Giant.
Oh no. The missile. When it comes down, everyone will die. Should we get to a shelter?
It wouldn't matter.
Giant?
Scary home intruders caught on camera. In this 2016 footage, one Oregon family managed to sleep through an entire home invasion as a stranger wearing face paint rummaged through their home in the middle of the night. The woman came into their home and can be seen making food, trying on clothes, and generally, just roaming around without caring for her surroundings. Luckily, the family was not harmed, and nothing was taken, but it certainly made them feel a little less secure in their home than they might have felt before. 3 disgusting things found in McDonald's foods. In August 2014, a visitor to an Osaka outpost of McDonald's discovered a shard of human tooth in their order of fries. In 2006, 3 people sued a McDonald's franchise owner because of a dead rat that they found in a salad sold by the fast food chain. Back in 2000, a woman bought a couple of orders of McNuggets for her kids, and what she found was terrifying: a whole chicken head that had been battered and fried.
These 2 men walked into a 7-Eleven with plans, and those plans included holding a single cashier up at gunpoint. The man in the blue hoodie takes it on himself to climb over the counter, quickly crowding the cashier, who puts his hands up. The second man jumps over as well. However, much to everyone's surprise, a police officer comes in uniform, and quickly de-escalates the robbery. He pulls a gun on the robbers, and the 2 men get on the ground, not wanting things to go south. The 2 teens clearly thought this would be a quick in and out, and were surprised to see how quickly their robbery was met with swift action.
Scary objects caught moving on camera. This Sunday Mass was going along when the statue decided to steal the show. A seemingly normal teddy bear was caught on a security camera doing this. Nothing strange seems to happen in this temple, but suddenly. Scary moments caught on Twitch live streams. In this 2014 live Twitch footage, the streamer Sagedine experienced a terrible scene in her own house during her live stream. While streaming gameplay to a couple of hundred viewers, a burglar broke into her house and started to look for valuables.
The hell?
A few days after the unfortunate incident, the streamer explained to her skeptical viewers that the robbery was real and it was not scripted for the stream.
When you guys hear that loud bang, that's them coming in with a pointed.
Scary people found alone on the road. A man is driving down the road when he comes across a man standing in the middle of the road. He starts filming when the man refuses to move out of the way. The person driving can't make a U-turn to escape because the road is blocked by other cars. Their only choice is to back up. The man follows him all the way to a main road, and still stands in front of him at the light. The police show up and try to tell the man to stop following the car, but he doesn't even acknowledge the officers. Terrifying TV broadcast interruptions. During this Russian broadcast, something strange happened. A normal Fox News interview, but then.
I wanted to die, the Jack Kevorkian would help. Would you?
I would help them if they deserve it.
Dear Fox News, it has come to our attention that you have been alienating the American people.
HBO was broadcasting a movie when suddenly.
In the first frame of this video, the first thing you notice is that the man being arrested is offering no resistance at all. You can see him raise his hand and go to the ground quickly with an officer pointing a gun at him. Almost immediately, a swarm of cops troop into the room and pile upon the man who's already lying on his face with his hands stretched out in front of him. There's at least 20 officers in that huddle trying to arrest one man who's already surrendered and was lying on his stomach. It's overkill, and when something like this happens, you're certain that the officers involved will do worse to the individual.
It was just unfathomable. It was unspeakable. It is just inexcusable.
It's scary to witness, and what's scarier still is that no one among this large number of officers had the presence of mind to say, "Stop, take it easy, he's still a human being."
These scary videos will make you scream hysterically. This creepy video shows a group of British friends playing catch in a courtyard when one of them sees something terrifying.
Did you see that bit?
This scary clip shows a kid making a video for his school project when the camera catches something unexpected at the window. This scary security footage from a driveway cam shows something crossing the road, for sure is not a human being. This man was sending emails from his grave. In November of 2011, a man named Tim Hart was perusing his emails, when his inbox suddenly filled with a message. His friend had sent him an email. However, not just anybody, but one who had passed away 5 months earlier and went by the name of Jack Froese. Simply put, the subject said, "I'm watching." And the email's body read, "Did you hear me? I'm at your house. Clean your effing attic." According to Hart, the second to last time Froese had visited his home prior to his death, they went up to the attic and made jokes about how filthy it was. Another email from Froese was then received by Jimmy McGraw, Jack Froese's cousin. The subject simply said, "Hey Jim," and the email following it read, how you're doing? I knew you were gonna break your ankle. Tried to warn you, gotta be careful. The thing that made this email particularly eerie was the fact that McGraw had indeed broke his ankle while heading out to work one morning. But this only happened after Froese had passed away. How could Froese have sent this email with knowledge of an event that took place after his death? The man with two faces. Legend says that during the 19th century, a man named Edward Mordrake was born with an extra face at the back of his head, which could neither eat nor speak, although it could laugh and cry. He begged the doctors to remove it as he claimed it whispered horrific things to him at night. He committed suicide at the age of 23. Terrifying videos that simply shouldn't exist. In this 2022 video, a man is filming the stunning York Minster Cathedral on a sunny day, while its bells are ringing loudly. The cameraman proceeds to scan the cathedral while walking toward it, and a shot later, he continues on his way down a narrow shops lane. He keeps filming both sides of the shops lane when suddenly, the window on the top left attracts his attention. As the cameraman zooms in, a ghostly pale face of a small child can be seen looking out the window, disappearing shortly after. Terrifying clowns caught on camera. This girl was peacefully sleeping in her bed when suddenly, this scary clown stared at the camera for a while and then this policeman was shocked when he captured the scene on his dashcam.
Why don't you guys come up to this barrier?
Just a few days before the Chernobyl disaster, a number of workers at the nuclear plant reported seeing a massive black bird with bright red glowing eyes. Rumor has it that on April 26, 1986, when the reactors began to melt down, the black bird of Chernobyl took off straight up from the main nuclear emission tower and vanished. Terrifying things caught at hospitals. Two friends were exploring an abandoned hospital when suddenly these students were recording a short film inside a mental hospital when they noticed something strange. This mostly empty-looking hospital in Honduras seems innocuous, but terrifying things caught at hospitals. This 2020 hospital footage shows an employee inside a hospital's laboratory while minding his own business with the rotary evaporators. Suddenly, one of the jars of distillate inexplicably falls off the table, breaking on the floor. Upon noticing the broken jar, the employee leaves the room to tell his supervisor about what just happened. Not amused with what he's witnessing, the supervisor dismisses the employee, who leaves the room in anger. Shortly after, another employee arrives in the room to clean the spilled distillate when suddenly, another jar appears to inexplicably move on its own towards the end of the table.
Over 50 years ago, a United States Airlines jet crashed into a Chicago neighborhood while trying to land at the airport. The video shows the wreckage. The plane was completely destroyed and a few houses were obliterated. 43 of the 61 passengers were killed in the crash, and 2 people who were struck on the ground also died. Many more were rushed to the hospital.
Scary stalkers caught on camera. Brittany Morrow, a family vlogger, posted a video to her YouTube channel in 2019 describing an incident that had happened to her and her husband. While her and her husband were driving around town, they realized that a vehicle seemed to be following them.
This guy has been following us for an hour.
At first, they weren't sure and thought that they were just being paranoid, until her husband took a few turns and the vehicle continued to stay close to their tail.
Hurry, babe, because he's turning around too.
This is when Brittany got out her camera to start filming the car, while her husband called the police. The police told Brittany and her husband to stay on the phone and keep driving until they could get a police car out to intercept the vehicle. In the video, you can see how frightened Brittany is because her children are also in the car with her and her husband. Finally, the police arrive, stop the vehicle, and talk to the driver. Brittany was told by police that the driver had said that he was following them because he saw them in his neighborhood and thought that they looked suspicious. Terrifying things found buried underground. In this 2014 video, a guy is in the woods with his metal detector looking for treasures, when his equipment begins beeping over some boards of wood. Lifting the wooden covering, he discovers a little metal trash can buried a few feet underneath. The man hesitates at first but eventually chooses to open the trash can, making a pretty disturbing discovery. Inside the mysterious trash can, the guy discovers a terrifying mannequin head with an object affixed to the right side, all painted in red paint. Terrifying moments caught on planes. This is what happens when a plane lands on frozen ground. An unwanted passenger inside the overhead compartment. These passengers were having a peaceful journey when suddenly a A passenger filming the plane's engine falling apart.
Mayday, aircraft just experienced a engine failure, need to turn immediately.
Strange experiences with scammers caught on camera. This dash cam catches the moment as the scammer decides to stop in the middle of the crosswalk and shoot his shot. He jumps side first into the car and then acts like he's grievously injured.
What the f are you doing?
However, the driver is having none of that. He gets out of the car and points out his dash cam, which caught the whole encounter. The scammer quickly turns tail to run away. Knowing he's caught, he probably doesn't see many other options. Terrifying moments caught on planes. All the passengers on this flight were terrified because of this. This flight assistant was inspecting a plane at night when he notices something horrifying.
No, mommy.
This passenger was recording the sky from the plane, when suddenly...
Gary, what is that? Holy crap!
Scary stalkers caught on camera. This guy was just shopping at the mall, but he wasn't alone.
I'm in Publix, right? And this guy keeps following me around. You see him in the background with the yellow suit? See? Right there in the yellow suit. See, look, there you go.
This Twitch streamer was having a lovely day at the beach when a random guy sat on her side.
His name either. Hey, don't do that. Don't do that.
This girl was peacefully walking on the road talking on the phone with a friend when suddenly...
Shit, is that him?
Yep, I got him. Just keep walking. Take your first right. Stay calm. Turn right. I'm moving in now.
The last thing people want to see when on a plane is a massive crack up the side. These passengers, unfortunately, got to deal with that firsthand, as they saw an open crack on the side of their mid-flight plane appear. The flight attendant seemed to be checking on the brake in person at the beginning of the clip, only to quickly see as people moved quickly away from it. No matter how many went up to inspect it, it's clear that everyone surrounding the split wanted to get away. One wrong turn and the plane could have easily split in half. Luckily, they made an emergency landing and no one was hurt, but I wouldn't want to get back on an aircraft quite so quickly after that.
You should probably know what is going on in North Korea. From Friday forward, people in North Korea are prohibited from smiling, shopping, or drinking as part of an 11-day mourning period commemorating the death of former leader Kim Jong-il. Even if your family member dies during the mourning period, you are not allowed to cry out loud, and the body must be taken out after it's over. Anyone who disobeys the rule will be arrested, just like they are every year, and in some cases, sentenced to death. What would happen if President Putin died today? Russia is by definition a federal democratic state, even though in practice, it's a dictatorship ruled around Vladimir Putin. This means that, while there is technically a line of succession, Putin has complete control over the line. In fact, Putin appointed Mikhail Mishustin as his prime successor, a tax official without any political experience. This choice reflects a desire to hand the control of the cabinet to an easily controlled figure, who has no political power on his own. This means that no matter what happens to Putin, his power will pass to Mishustin, and Russia will probably continue on with the same pro-Putin policies. It was witchcraft, said Ronald Eric Salazar when asked to explain the brutal murder and rape of his 11-year-old sister, Marina Salazar in 2005. Ronald claimed that a witch in El Salvador told him he had inherited an old voodoo curse from his father. He declared that this curse drove him to kill his sister.
Sometimes you just have to ride it out. This woman began smashing glass bottles against the attendant's window when he locked her in. Whatever issue she started, he wouldn't let her go with it. According to the people filming, this seemed to be a semi-regular occurrence. The men behind the camera quickly began to say things like, "She'll go to jail this time," meaning that there had been previous times that this has happened and that jail hadn't been a consequence.
Hey, she going to jail this time.
She continues to throw bottles and threaten the person on the other side of the counter, but they stay strong. Probably nice having such strong bulletproof glass like that. What would you do?
A woman who gave birth to rabbits. In the 18th century, a woman called Mary Toft convinced doctors that she was giving birth to rabbits. Mary reportedly gave birth to up to 9 of the fluffy creatures at a time. Doctors were convinced that she was telling the truth until they found pieces of corn inside the stomach of one of the rabbits, proving that it hadn't developed inside Toft's womb. It turned out that she had been manually inserting the rabbits to make the delivery look as realistic as possible. The 10-second jailbreak. In 1975, Joel Kaplan escaped from a prison in Mexico without breaking a single law. He didn't bribe or assault the guards, he had legally purchased the helicopter and plane used in his breakout, his flight complied with all FAA regulations, he entered the US with his real name, and in Mexico escapees who do not break any other laws are not charged. Kaplan was in the clear. On the morning of January 13, 2018, this alert was sent to all the residents of Hawaii, warning them of a missile strike. The governor claims the wrong button was pushed, but the operator who pushed the button was told, "This is not a drill." Theories have since arisen that this day, a missile from North Korea was intercepted. This man was found dead, but he actually never existed. In June 2009, an unidentified man was mysteriously found dead on the coast of Sligo, Ireland. The police discovered that the man used the fake name Peter Bergman to check in a hotel room in which he stayed during his visit to Sligo. The city CCTV captured the man's movements through the town, showing the man trying to avoid interactions with other people. The real identity of the man and reasons for his visit to Sligo remain unknown. This YouTuber disappeared without leaving a trace. YouTuber Kate Yup began posting her mukbang videos on YouTube in 2018, achieving great success. While blindfolded, she can be seen in her videos eating aggressively without caring for aesthetics. Then, in November of 2019, Kate posted a video where her teeth began to fall out, seemingly rotted through, and since then, no one knows where she's gone. Someone theorized that she could be in real danger, as a bunch of users spotted several creepy coded messages in her videos. A hidden SOS request, 4 letters capitalized to spell help, and a Morse code message tapped on a glass bowl that said, "Please help me." Horrifying things caught while camping. Some teens are around a campfire, presumably in the woods, watching cartoons and goofing around. Eventually, one of the girls leaves, and they realize she's been gone for quite a while.
Yeah, I know, for legit though, like, Alexis has been gone for so freaking long trying to actually poop.
The video clips a bit, and it shows one of the guys standing around, clearly worried.
Can a couple of people just come with me just to make sure we're good?
A few of the guys go out, looking for the missing girl. Slowly, they become more and more concerned about her well-being, and their voices get frenzied. Eventually, we hear a scream in the distance, and they start rushing after it.
Alexis?
In the woods, a stick structure is built up, and they slowly approach it, only to quickly, terrified, go running. People who failed at being criminals. In February 2016, a suicide bomber with an explosive in his laptop boarded the Dalo Airlines Flight 159, intending to destroy the aircraft. 20 minutes after takeoff, the explosive detonated, blasting a hole in the plane and instantly sucking the bomber out. He was the only fatality. Disturbing things caught on GoPro cameras. In this video, a group of bikers is peacefully riding their bikes across the woods. Everything proceeds smoothly, but suddenly, one of the guys falls off his bike due to a weird encounter. One of the bikers tries to follow the strange figure, but it's too late.
This video was taken on a cell phone by an employee of this hospice, who was all alone one night when he began hearing noises from what he assumed to be a vacant hallway. Upon further investigation, he opened the door to peer down the hallway, when he notices a figure peeking out of a doorway in what appears to be a playful manner. Upon closer inspection, you can see the figure. As it appears, it begins to flicker, as if it's some sort of projection. As it steps into the hallway, you'll notice that it appears to be semi-transparent. The neck and head of the figure seem to be elongated, in what looks like some type of earthworm Jim fashion. As we watch this video, we can only imagine the kind of ice-cold fear coursing its way through this employee's veins. To be there alone at night, definitely not for the faint of heart.
Mysterious ancient inventions science still can't explain, Part 2. This is a replica of one of the first earthquake detecting tools in history. It was designed by Zhang Heng around 132. The basic premise was as follows: when the shaking begins, one of the dragons would spit out a bronze ball into a toad's mouth, indicating the direction of the quake. No one actually knows what was exactly inside the artifact. Disturbing things caught by YouTubers. In this 2019 video, two girls are in the middle of a general vlog, going to the mall to take some photos. While shopping, they soon realize that a man had been following and watching them all time, staying just a few feet away from them but always within view.
He was looking at you crazy.
The girls try to ditch the man, but unfortunately, they confirm that he's actively going everywhere they go, even going as far as to pretend he's shopping around.
That is crazy. What?
He's pretending if he just was there.
Yeah.
Scared, they decide to leave the stores, and while the guy still follows them, one of the girls loudly records him.
He's literally following us.
Which seems to spook him enough that they're finally able to get away.
Can you imagine just gasping and witnessing a few masked men get out with guns? How would you react? What if the same gas station kept getting hit over and over again? This one location in Midtown Atlanta is a seeming hotspot of activity as thieves continue to hit it repeatedly. Sometimes they pile out of cars armed with guns, and other times they're blatant about it, just watching and grabbing everything they can before making a run. This location apparently had been forced to hire what they called a private army to keep them from being hit so often, which had seemed to work to some extent. Honestly, what is it about this gas station that makes it so appealing to robbers? You would think they'd learn and figure out a way to stop it, wouldn't you?
Facts that will warp your perception of time, Part 2. Cleopatra lived closer to the coronavirus pandemic than she did to the building of the pyramids of Giza. When Warner Bros. Was founded, the Ottoman Empire was still a thing. When the first Star Wars was released, France was still executing people by guillotine. In 1919, Seijo Yasso published a collection of poems that included one called Tamino's Hell. It describes a young boy's experience in hell after committing and taking part in unspeakable acts. If you choose to read it, you must read it in your head, as legend says that if you read it out loud, you could end up with mysterious pains and bad luck. Some people even believe that reading the poem out loud could lead to death. Facts that will warp your perception of time, Part 4. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was published in the summer of 2007, the same summer the first iPhone model was released. Marilyn Monroe and Queen Elizabeth are shaking hands here during a movie premiere in London, 1956. They were both 30 then. In medieval Europe, a moment was exactly 90 seconds. Disturbing things caught inside taxis. In this video, a taxicab is driving at night. The camera has a full view of the empty backseat. Shadows pass through the car as the car passes under street lamps. However, one shadow forms and stays. It looks exactly like a person in shadow form. It lingers for a few seconds in the back of the car and then disappears. The driver didn't seem to notice. Disturbing statements made by politicians on live TV.
Конечно, потенциал объединенной организации НАТО и России несопоставим. Мы понимаем. Но мы также понимаем, что Россия одна из ведущих ядерных держав. И по некоторым компонентам по современности даже многих опережает. Победителей не будет. И вы окажетесь втянутыми в этот конфликт помимо своей воли.
When these three constables were sent to serve an eviction notice, they totally became a caricature of what they were meant to represent. It's the worst thing you'll see when people who should uphold the law become the worst of themselves and steal from the citizens who they ought to protect.
Put him in my shirt.
To show how irresponsible they are, they didn't know one of their body cams had been turned on accidentally and captured the officers stealing items from the home where they'd served an eviction notice. From wristwatches to other valuables within the home. You can hear the female officer's excited voice as they comb through the house like low-life thieves.
We done got hot. They can come in. Yeah, it's hot.
These are worse than thieves. They're worse than criminals, and the one comfort to take away from this is that they were made to face the consequences of their actions.
After waking up and checking their outdoor security camera, a family in New Mexico had no idea what they were about to see. In the footage, a man lurks outside on the family's porch for approximately around 6 hours. He arrived around 12 a.m. and left at 6 a.m. after a light turned on in the house. Throughout the 6 hours, the man did a number of creepy things. He smoked, walked around their garage, paced back and forth on the porch, and finally dropped his pants and exposed his backside to the camera.
Streaming out in public, Sushi Potato deals with strange people in crowds. This time, a man tries soliciting her for sex all of a sudden, only to have her pull away quickly and get herself somewhere else.
For sex with you.
What? Wait, what?
The stream, however, catches as the man starts grabbing at her, refusing to let her leave, as he explains he wasn't asking for sex. He says he was asking if she would have sex with someone else, but she's uncomfortable and still tries to get away.
Okay, we're going. Oh, okay, don't touch me. All right, get it off. Oi, get off me. Oi, get off me, buddy.
This time, he grabs her leg, and she starts shouting until he lets go.
Thankfully, she gets away, but if she hadn't been so quick, she might not have been able to.
Terrifying animal encounters captured on camera.
Run! Run, Daniel! Run! Run!
To the duck.
Scary Karens ruining other people's day. In this 2021 YouTube video, a woman can be seen approaching another woman who's training on the monkey bars, apparently irritated that her shirt was hanging over her head, claiming she's half naked.
Oh no, keep clothing. That is totally revealing. I'm gonna add you exercise that. I don't get it.
She starts yelling at her as everyone in the park asks her to stop making a scene. She continues, however, pulling the woman's hula hoop off of her and tossing it on the ground.
You need to get down. What are you doing?
Causing an escalation.
What are you? Don't touch my stuff. Hey, you're gonna be a TikTok. You want to Let me show you what you can do for a TikTok.
Scary home intruders caught on camera. This security footage shows an intruder walking around a house looking for various valuables. The guy had only broken into the house seconds earlier by smashing a window while the house owner's kid and their babysitter were out running errands. When the two return home, the kid can be seen walking around the kitchen, but when the babysitter hears footsteps upstairs, she can be seen frantically grabbing the kid and running outside to the neighbor's house, followed by the intruder running away. Disturbing things caught at gas stations. The video was captured through one of the CCTV cameras in the station. The station operator Ahmed Abu Daria noticed something strange while he was going through the video footage of the station. Abu Daria noticed a misty blue shape hovering in the air next to one of the fuel pumps. It stayed there for half an hour. But the mist does not stay in one place, rather, it floats away. Later it comes back into focus, hovering over the windshield of one of the cars at the station. It then again floats away. This left Abu Daria scratching his head, wondering what the blue mist could be. Scary stalkers caught on camera. This scared man was recording a video with his phone saying that someone was following him.
I'm pretty sure I'm being followed. I've been taking a rather circuitous route. See that woman back there? I've been taking a rather circuitous route around. And she got interested in what I was up to.
This woman was returning home when suddenly... This woman was peacefully walking around with her son, but then... Terrifying moments caught on planes. All the passengers on this flight were terrified because of this. This flight assistant was inspecting a plane at night when he notices something horrifying.
No, mommy.
This passenger was recording the sky from the plane, when suddenly...
Okay, what is that? Holy crap!
Scary urban legends that were caught on camera. Strange experiences with scammers caught on camera. In this video, two women are shown on the aircraft while one adjusts a massive fake pregnant stomach. The woman beside her quickly calls her out for it, but she tells her to mind her business, that it doesn't concern her.
Why does this matter to you? This doesn't affect you literally at all.
The woman becomes increasingly irate as a steward comes to escort the pregnancy scammer to first class.
She's not pregnant. She's not pregnant.
Your business. She is pregnant. I'm going to take her.
No one will seemingly listen to her, but as the man helps the woman to her feet, her seat neighbor reaches over. The two scuffle as the blonde woman yanks her shirt up.
Look! Do not look! Do not! It's trying to take my clothes off!
The movement causes the belly to fall loose, exposing her scam. The steward allows the woman who caught the scammer to move to first class, leaving the scammer alone in her seat. Scariest moments caught on GoPro camera. In this 2014 GoPro footage, a man is in the woods returning a moose to its natural habitat after some routine veterinary checks. He watches as the moose gets slowly up while telling it to move away, but suddenly, the moose starts to violently charge at the man without any apparent reason. The animal then proceeds to stomp him on the ground, although the man fortunately manages to stand back up, and with the moose still ready to charge, he succeeds to get the animal run away by throwing objects at it. I need your help, my friends of TikTok. Yesterday I was looking for some new cool topics and clips in order to edit a couple of videos for the page when suddenly, I came across a legendary internet piece.
It's an arrow at the bottom.
I have always wondered whether it was real or staged. The only information I could find about this clip was this.
I'm serious. Why? Why do people think it's okay to laugh at this? I don't see the humor. My name is Roger Sims, not That Guy Gets Owned.
Scary moments of people being followed home. This woman was returning home with her dog, when suddenly, this woman was returning home with her baby, but she wasn't alone. Scary stalkers caught on camera. This scary video was uploaded to TikTok in 2021 by TikToker Hey It's Phoebes, and shows the TikToker being filmed by her doorbell camera as she returns home. She can be seen opening the door, entering, and closing the door behind her. A few minutes later, a mysterious man can be seen pacing up and down the stairs in front of the TikToker's door. He tries to disguise his presence, and shortly after, he turns back around and walks right in front of the girl's door, casting a glance at the doorbell camera. He then puts on his hood, perhaps to avoid being recognized, and starts looking around, only to leave shortly after.
In 2019, a young girl was followed for several blocks by a man in his car as she was walking home from school. This is literally every parent's worst nightmare. Fortunately, the little girl was smart and was able to get away. The incident was captured on a neighbor's outdoor security camera. The young girl was aware of the car following her, so when she walked past a big truck parked on the street, she hid behind it. The man in the vehicle waited for her to come out from behind the truck for a couple of minutes, and then he pulled away. The little girl stayed hidden behind the trucks, which was a good decision because the man turned around and tried to look for her again. He even tried to ask her a question about school, but she stayed quiet and stayed hidden. The man eventually gave up and drove off, and the girl sprinted the rest of the way home. Had she not been aware of her surroundings, there's no telling what could have happened to her.
Worst ways characters have died in kids' movies. Coral and the Baby Fishes, from Finding Nemo.
What if they don't like me?
Marlin, there's over 400 eggs. Odds are one of them is bound to like you. What?
You remember how we met? Cutie's here. Where'd everybody go?
Scary stalkers caught on camera. In 2019, a young girl was followed for several blocks by a man in his car as she was walking home from school. The incident was captured on a neighbor's outdoor security camera. The young girl was aware of the car following her, so when she walked past a big truck parked on the street, she hid behind it. The man in the vehicle waited for her to come out from behind the truck for a couple of minutes, and then he pulled away. The little girl stayed hidden behind the truck, which was a good decision because the man turned around and tried to look for her again. He even tried to ask her a question about school, but she stayed quiet and stayed hidden. The man eventually gave up and drove off, and the girl sprinted the rest of the way home. Scary stalkers caught on camera. In this scary video uploaded by 12 News in 2019, a boy is walking calmly to his front door after a day at school. As the boy heads to the entrance, a suspicious red truck can be seen across the street, seemingly waiting for the boy to enter the house. In fact, as soon as the boy walks in, the truck parks right in front of the house. A man then gets out of the van and hurriedly walks towards the front door, trying to open it without a second thought. After several attempts, the man notices the doorbell security camera and decides to drive quickly away. Scary stalkers caught on camera. This weird man has been spying on a nearby pool party for hours with his phone.
He's just like hiding behind a bush, taking pictures, and then when someone walks by, he pretends to be on his phone.
This scary old lady doesn't let two boys leave with their car.
We want to move our vehicular. Yes. Yes, what do you want?
A guy is recording his stalker using binoculars in his window's direction.
Oh shit.
Would you be prepared for a potential carjacking? Probably not. Thankfully, most of us will never have to deal with that in our lives. The thing is, if you're not prepared, you're at risk. This man learned that firsthand. While getting gas, a would-be carjacker approaches a car, immediately pulling out a gun and brandishing it towards the victims. This is reportedly nothing more than a few people giving each other dirty looks that turn into a much bigger production. The guy in orange starts shooting, and the people in the car quickly return to their car and go in reverse to escape. They ran in no small part because of their quick thinking. How do you think they'd fare? Are you short on your feet?
While meeting some fans, this streamer was quick to act, as these girls were being tailed by a creepy man they didn't know anything about.
We're helping save her right now from.
He stuck around, watching, ensuring they were okay, to ensure the creepy man didn't do something to the seemingly uninebriated girls. The guy lurks just a few steps away from them, watching and waiting for the streamers to leave. Eventually, the group leaves together, keeping an eye on the girls and getting them to safety.
I know you like that. And then she never saw her.
Disturbing Easter eggs in video games. In the 1997 first-person shooter Outlaws, you can find something outright disturbing in a seemingly ordinary outhouse in the first level of the game. In fact, if you blow up the toilet with a piece of dynamite, you will find a secret path underwater. If you follow the path, you will reach a secret room where you will find a weird surprise.
Being live on the internet can catch some insane things. This man was speaking live when you see someone running in the back. The thief quickly approaches with a gun to the man's head, forcing him out of the car.
I'm so scared because they have a gun. They need to shoot me. They say to get off your car. They take my car.
Then, having stolen his wallet, he jumps into the car and begins driving away. He's clearly paranoid, looking around, driving quickly, not having noticed the phone recording his every movement. Eventually he does, but it's long after his face has been revealed from under his mask, and likely reported or screenshotted dozens of times. They eventually found the car, stripped and abandoned, with no thief in sight. He made off with the tags, the keys, and more.
Disturbing Easter eggs in video games. In the classic multiplayer world of Worldcraft, you can find something outright terrifying if you head to Goldshire at 7 AM server time. In fact, you will see 6 spooky children leaving their house and running around the surrounding area in a pentagram formation before returning to their house at around 7:40 AM. If you follow the children into their house and up onto the second floor, you will usually be greeted in a very disturbing way.
You will die.
First deaths in history. The Siamese twins. Daisy and Violet Hilton were English entertainers, who were Siamese twins. In 1969, after they failed to report to work, their boss called the police. The twins were found dead in their home, victims of the Hong Kong flu. According to a forensic investigation, Daisy died first. Violet remained alive and attached to her dead sister several days before they were both found dead. I bet you don't know what happened a few days ago to Queen Elizabeth. On Christmas morning, a 19-year-old intruder was found around 500 meters away from the Queen's private chambers and was arrested outside Windsor Castle, nearly 24 minutes after a suspicious pre-recorded video surfaced on social media. In the clip, the suspect can be seen mentioning his plan to attack the Queen to avenge a 1919 massacre in India. He could be seen armed with a crossbow, wearing a black hoodie and a Star Wars-inspired mask. Disturbing things caught by Twitch streamers. In this 2020 Twitch clip, the streamer Pokimane is peacefully streaming in front of her whole audience, unaware that something strange is actually happening behind her. In fact, a few minutes into her stream, someone can be seen in the top left corner coming in through the door. The streamer doesn't seem to see it happening while the intruder, wearing all black, sneaks in and then slinks right back out, full of things in his hands. As the robbing continues, her audience starts donating money to tell her what's happening, but still, she doesn't get what they're saying.
Guys, I actually cannot tell if you guys are trolling.
Luckily, as the video ends, she finally sees the intruder, clarifying that this was just a stage joke.
Alright everybody, say hi YouTube.
Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In a 1987 banned episode of Mighty Mouse The New Adventures, a lobster is attacking an anthill, and Mighty Mouse decides to help the ants get rid of the intruder. He pretends to be a female crustacean and the lobster, falling in the trap, goes away. Later that night, the ants and Mighty Mouse are celebrating the victory around a big fire when suddenly, Mighty Mouse does a very weird and controversial thing, showing us the reason why the episode was banned.
I know someone else like that.
It's rumored that in North Korea they have their citizens act out certain roles or jobs to make the country seem a lot better than it is to foreigners. This video may help prove that. The video was taken in downtown Pyongyang, and the sidewalks are bustling with people. The person taking the video turns to show the street traffic. Standing along the street is a traffic control officer, and she turns around and seems to notice that she's being filmed. She turns back to the street and starts blowing on her whistle and waving her flag. However, despite her looking like she's directing traffic, she isn't actually doing anything. The cars keep driving past and the people keep walking by. It's almost as if she's putting on a show for the camera.
Disturbing moments caught on live TV. In this 2005 live footage, a news channel was broadcasting live the emergency landing of flight JetBlue 292. In fact, after taking off from Bob Hope Airport in California, its pilots immediately noticed that something was wrong. Due to a malfunction, they were unable to retract the landing gear, and after informing officials in the local control tower, they decided to attempt an emergency landing at the Los Angeles airport. Fortunately, the plane eventually landed successfully under the watchful eyes of millions of TV viewers, leaving all its passengers unharmed. The man who killed Halloween. On a rainy Halloween night in 1974, little Timothy O'Brien was out knocking on doors with his father Ronald. Soon after, Timothy began to complain that his stomach hurt, and ran to the bathroom, where he began vomiting and convulsing. When the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Timothy died en route to the hospital in less than an hour. It was later found that one of the candies he ate was laced with cyanide by his father Ronald, in order to claim the life insurance money and ease his own financial troubles. Horrifying things caught at gas stations. The surveillance camera captures the interior of the store at night. You can see there are no activities going on in there, no employee or management can be seen within the store. Now look to the top right corner and you'll see when the break-in started, something is happening, and in a moment, you'll see a man run into the store, climb over the counter and quickly rummage through, grabbing the things he wanted. Another figure soon follows behind him, this time, a female who jumps over the counter as well and grabs what she wants before making her way out of the store through the same opening they had made to the right. I need to show you a disturbing video. What is this thing? It definitely doesn't look like a human being. Also, it doesn't look fake at all. Disturbing things caught by drones. In this 2016 drone footage, a noisy drone is recording from behind a young girl who is trying to focus on her next golf shot. Obviously annoyed, the girl gives the drone a first glare over her shoulder, hoping the drone will move away. Unfortunately, the drone pilot doesn't seem to understand and keeps recording her from behind, making her miss her next shot. The girl again gives the drone a dirty look, which still doesn't seem to want to move, and suddenly... What will happen in 1 million years? In 1,000 years from now, due to the rapid evolution of languages, no single present-day word will have survived. In 2,000 years, Chernobyl will be finally safe. In 50,000 years, Niagara Falls will disappear. In 500,000 years, there will be a new global freeze. In 1 million year, all glasses created today will have finally degraded. Disturbing moments caught on Twitch live stream. A man from the background comes forward and whispers something into this streamer's ear. She's surprised by the intrusion but also on stream, so she doesn't respond. However, he starts messing with her things from off camera, which puts her on edge. She gets increasingly more uncomfortable as she continues to sit there. It's unclear what the man must have said to her, but it was enough to put her on edge for the rest of the clip. Terrifying videos that simply shouldn't exist. In this 2022 video, a man is filming the stunning York Minster Cathedral on a sunny day, while its bells are ringing loudly. The cameraman proceeds to scan the cathedral while walking toward it, and a shot later, he continues on his way down a narrow shops lane. He keeps filming both sides of the shops lane when suddenly, the window on the top left attracts his attention. As the cameraman zooms in, a ghostly pale face of a small child can be seen looking out the window, disappearing shortly after. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1933 episode of Betty Boop, Betty is visiting a small village in the mountains when suddenly, all the villagers start to pack up their things and flee their homes terrified. Confused, Betty asks a passing owl who explains that the old man of the mountain is threatening the livelihood of the villagers, particularly the women. Despite the owl's warnings, Betty is curious and decides to trek up the mountainside to find out who is the old man. Once Betty gets to the top of the mountain, the old man of the mountain emerges from behind a rock, showing us a very controversial scene that led to the episode being banned.
When this police officer pulled this driver over, the usual exchange between a driver and cop is expected to take place.
What's going on? I'll be happy to tell you once I see who I'm talking to, alright?
But what happens is a show of ego and a messy arrest that could have been managed better if the officer didn't think he had absolute authority to do as he pleases.
I need you to let me know, like, what's going on, like, what happened? Like I said, I'd be happy to tell you once I see information.
He asks the driver for identification, and the driver asks to know what his offense is. The officer isn't obliged to answer the driver's question. He should do as he's told and not ask counter questions. Classic dictator vibes, but that's the least of it.
I'm not giving you my information until you tell me what you pulled me over for.
Now the officer is determined to teach the driver a lesson in manners and calls reinforcements. The arrest is a full-blown violent affair where the officer shatters the glass with his hand and forcefully pulls the driver out of the car with the help of his partner.
Digital immortality. Many scientists believe that by 2045, humans will achieve digital immortality by uploading their minds, thoughts, and even memories in more durable media, like a computer. The result might look like an avatar behaving, reacting, and thinking like a person on the basis of that person's digital archive.
The Toy Story characters seem to have no luck when it comes to malfunctions. The Buzz Lightyear animatronic at Disneyland Paris experienced a malfunction that many guests found to be a little disturbing.
Scanners detecting Mark Trumbull and Saturn Myers. The evil Emperor Zurg.
The animatronic's face completely disappeared, leaving an eerily faceless Buzz Lightyear to welcome guests onto his attraction.
Without those cells, we'll all be...
Terrifying things caught at McDonald's. Kennesaw police went to this McDonald's to calm down a rapidly escalating situation.
So why'd y'all call? So like what happened?
Because we ordered the food, he couldn't print us a receipt.
Okay.
So he said the receipt would be printed in the back.
The man who called came up, complaining to the cops that the fries he'd gotten were cold, and he wanted a refund.
You know, I tried the fries they're lukewarm, but they're not hot.
He was kicked out of the establishment when he pitched a fit and decided to escalate further. The police officer, just doing his job, asks for the victim's ID. He refuses, but tells his name instead.
Alright, spell your last name for me.
Simes.
Okay.
After a quick touch base with the manager, the police officer rejoins the man outside and is quickly forced to call for backup. The body cam catches as he realizes just who he's got his hands on, presumed armed, dangerous, and wanted for alleged murder.
Alright, Mr. Sims, come over here. I'm gonna have you sign this.
I'm not under arrest or anything, am I?
No, sir. Just come over here. I'm gonna have you sign this real quick.
I said I'm not under arrest or anything.
No, you're not. Yeah, just come over here. I'm gonna have you sign this real quick.
I'm afraid of y'all, sir.
Why are you afraid?
3 years, sir. I'm afraid of you.
Alright, I'm gonna walk you through. Why are you doing that?
I know how to fill it out.
Why are you doing that?
I know how to fill it. Am I right?
Yeah.
No, let's get it.
In this video, a man walks down the middle of a street directly towards a car. The car tries to move out of the man's way so as not to hit him, but the man walks as close to the car as he possibly can. As it starts pulling away, the man reaches out a hand to hit the car, then falls to the ground as though he's been hit. The driver gets out to check on the man. The man gets up and acts as though his arm has been severely injured. However, he uses the injured hand to open the driver's car door and get inside the vehicle so that the driver can't drive away before the police arrive. The driver notices a CCTV camera recording the street. He points it out to the scammer. When the scammer sees the CCTV camera, he acts like nothing happened and walks away. Apparently, the police in Florida have upgraded a cane to join the list of well-known lethal weapons. In this video, we see a blind man being asked to identify himself based entirely upon the suspicion that he was carrying a concealed weapon. When he whips out the alleged concealed weapon, it appears to be the cane that he uses to find his way because he's legally blind. These officers are undeterred and go ahead to arrest the blind man when he insists that he has no reason to identify himself. The most heartbreaking part of this whole debacle is that the man being harassed was coming from jury duty. He was a totally law-abiding citizen who had just performed his civic duty, receiving this sort of treatment from the police, which is really quite pathetic.
Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1933 episode of Betty Boop, Betty is visiting a small village in the mountains when suddenly, all the villagers start to pack up their things and flee their homes terrified. Confused, Betty asks a passing owl who explains that the old man of the mountain is threatening the livelihood of the villagers, particularly the women. Despite the owl's warnings, Betty is curious and decides to trek up the mountainside to find out who is the old man. Once Betty gets to the top of the mountain, the old man of the mountain emerges from behind a rock, showing us a very controversial scene that led to the episode being banned. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1995 episode of Cow and Chicken, Chicken is watching TV and Cow keeps bothering him, wanting to play a game. After a while, Chicken starts to have enough of his sister and goes to tell Mom and Dad about the situation. Mom and Dad don't believe him and force Chicken to apologize to his sister. The episode was banned due to the next scene in which, in order to convince Chicken to play, Cow threatens him to tell mom and dad about his smoking habit. What's the problem? According to Cartoon Network, Chicken would only be 11 years old. Disturbing deleted scenes from kids' movies that were luckily cut. A deleted scene from the 2016 kids' movie Zootopia would have reportedly followed Judy and Nick sneaking through a building during the taming party of a little bear. They can be seen watching as Daddy Bear presents his son with his tame collar and makes him repeat a speech.
With this collar, Zootopia accepts me.
At first, Daddy Bear hesitates to put it on the little bear, but finally snaps the collar on his neck.
Thank you, Papa.
The little bear enjoys himself until his tame collar shocks him, as it's designed to zap him anytime he shows too much emotion.
Morris!
5 signs you are a reincarnation. You have memories of childhood events that your parents know never really happened. You regularly experience déjà vu. You have recurring dreams or nightmares. You have aches and pains that the doctors cannot quite pinpoint or explain medically. You have multiple irrational phobias. Disturbing Easter eggs in video games. In the 2008 action role-playing video game Fable 2, something terrifying will happen if you happen to cross the Bloodstone Demon door. In fact, right after crossing the door, you will find yourself in front of a path in the snow. If you follow the path, you will find a seemingly normal and lovely wintry cabin. If you cross the door, however, disturbing things caught at Disney parks. A creepy animatronic malfunction on the Frozen ride was when the ride had also broken down, and Olaf the snowman and Sven the reindeer appeared to be staring lovingly into each other's eyes instead of interacting with the audience. Because Disney has more advanced animatronics than ever before, even if the ride breaks down, the animatronics can still move. Park goers have started to experience more moments of animatronics doing something other than what they're supposed to do, making the robots seem more lifelike. Worst deaths in history. Part 2. Ishikawa Goemon was a legendary Japanese outlaw hero. He was sentenced to death, along with his infant son, and boiled alive in a huge iron kettle, while holding his infant son above the water. When he couldn't hold his son up any longer, he plunged his child under the water to kill him as quickly as possible.
In 2008, CCTV footage was released on YouTube and it went viral. What it showed was some sort of creature or paranormal entity walking on 2 legs with only a head, no arms, and no torso. The footage was later disregarded as it was too compressed and pixelated to tell whether or not it had been tampered with, although most said it looked too real to be CGI. 3 years later, in 2011, a couple was having trouble with break-ins near Yosemite National Park in California, so they pointed their security camera toward the driveway, and what they captured was very similar to the footage in 2008. Take a look. Still don't believe? Well, apparently these stick-like creatures had a link to ancient Native American Indians, as you can see carvings out of trees that were done by them hundreds of years ago. Now what do you think?
After a walk with her dog, a woman notices that a man has followed her into her yard. Her doorbell camera recorded the entire incident. In the video, the woman picks up her dog and rushes inside her house after she sees the man behind her. Luckily, she locked her door, because the man walks up to the house and tries to get in. He tries to talk to her as he wiggles the doorknob. The woman called the police, but they didn't get to her house until 15 minutes later. The man was not even arrested, as police said trespassing is only a citation and he just needs to be seen in court. Disturbing moments caught on live TV. In this 2010 live footage, a German poker tournament is taking place in Berlin when one player can be seen suddenly looking over his shoulder as the studio audience begins quickly to inexplicably clear out. Screams of panic meanwhile fill the room, eventually leading the players themselves to leave the table. It would later turn out that an armed robbery was occurring on the premises, with the thieves ultimately making out with the tournament's jackpot. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1933 episode of Betty Boop, Betty is visiting a small village in the mountains when suddenly, all the villagers start to pack up their things and flee their homes terrified. Confused, Betty asks a passing owl who explains that the old man of the mountain is threatening the livelihood of the villagers, particularly the women. Despite the owl's warnings, Betty is curious and decides to trek up the mountainside to find out who is the old man. Once Betty gets to the top of the mountain, the old man of the mountain emerges from behind a rock, showing us a very controversial scene that led to the episode being banned. Disturbing home intruders caught on camera. This 2016 footage shows an intruder breaking into a Miami home for 3 nights in a row once he discovered no one was home. The CCTV footage reveals his actions, including him stealing TVs, bicycles, and computers, all in broad daylight. As this wasn't enough, the hungry intruder can be also seen raiding the refrigerator and eating an entire cheesecake. Luckily, nothing serious happened as the home was empty at the time of the break-in. Disturbing things caught in elevators. More than an elevator failing, many people fear being trapped in one. People are afraid of this happening for meter seconds, but what about 41 hours? That's what happened to Nicholas White, whose elevator got stuck in the middle of its trip. 41 hours, and there was nothing he could do to help himself. Quickly, he begins to run around erratically. At about 4 hours, the man lies down, waiting to see what happens next. We can see maintenance trying to get him in the other elevator shots. By 20 hours, they've made no real progress. The man begins messing with things from his pockets before opening the doors. At about 34 hours, he climbs, seemingly looking for another way out. Clearly not satisfied or otherwise unable, he continues his cycle of laying down, running around, pacing, prying the doors open, and so much more. Before the 41-hour mark, he's finally released from this unfortunate circumstance, and they block the elevator off from further use. Disturbing near-death moments caught on camera. This guy had just jumped into the water when suddenly, 2 women had just walked past this building when this happened. This man was peacefully sitting on a wall facing the sea when out of the blue, disturbing things found by TikTokers. This scary video was uploaded on TikTok in 2020 by a girl who was dancing one of the many trends. Everything proceeds as expected when suddenly, the girl stops dancing and looks to the right terrified. The girl can be heard talking to an unidentified man, asking him who he is and what he does in her house.
Who are you? Please get out. Please get out. No, please get out.
The girl then begins to back out while telling the mysterious person to go away, while the intruder doesn't want to leave. The scared girl then takes her phone in her hand, heads to the front door, and finally records the intruder, a mysterious man in a red sweatshirt hiding behind a door. Disturbing things caught at Disney parks. During the Carnival of Stars parade at Disneyland Hong Kong, the character Shelley May stops dancing with the other characters in the parade. She starts drooping over like she's going to fall, but no one seems to notice. When she finally does fall, a character attendant calls over other attendants and they carry her away from the parade. The video is actually very concerning, because none of the character attendants removed the character's mask to see if she was okay. During a Disneyland parade, Disney fans were surprised to see Maleficent's float on fire. At first, it's hard to tell if it's part of the show or not. The float is in the shape of a large dragon. The top of the dragon's head was completely on fire, but it actually looked really cool and like it could be part of the show. When burning pieces of the float started falling to the ground, the parade watchers realized that the fire was not a part of the show. A park attendant tries to put out the flames using a small fire extinguisher, but it doesn't do anything to minimize the flames. Finally, they get a large fire extinguisher and are able to put out the fire.